Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you another exciting first look, this time at the 11th SS-Freiwilligen Panzergrenadier Nordland. Quite a mouthful, but this is one of the new divisions available in the upcoming DLC, Burning Baltics. As a disclaimer, Eugen have given me free access to the DLC, so big thanks to them. Also, please remember that this is an early preview and what you see may be subject to change. If you'd like to read the description on the right hand side, feel free to pause the video and take a look, but I'm going to be jumping straight on in. As usual, we'll be looking at all of the units available, and then I'll be putting together a quick deck. Now, just a general observation at the start here, there is quite an even amount of cards for each section of the battle group, but let's go into Recon and have a look at the beautiful Bmw R75. There it is once again. 10 points. You guys know the drill. Aufklärer. These guys come in the SS uniforms, same as like SS-Viking, for example. But these have some pretty nice transports. So they've got some 222s available, and they also have the 250-10s. Now the 250-10s have a 1,000 meter range now on the 37mm. The 222s sporting 750 meter range. So these are going to have to get a lot closer to do decent damage these days, but still a very good unit for engaging enemy infantry. So Aufklärer, certainly a potential choice. There's also Battlegroup. These can be brought in with the awesome looking SDKZ 247B. This thing is pretty cool. Let me just switch to that. I always think that this looks really modern for its time. And then there's the 251 half-track as well there. Moving on, we have the 259s are available in Phase A. Again, they support the 750 meter range. You can get 6 of them in Phase A, 12 of them in Phase B. Then we have the Schwiedenzug. These are, I think, Scandinavian special troops in the SS unit. You can get 3 of these in Phase A. They have a pretty nice loadout of 3 submachine guns, 4 SVT rifles, and 2 MG34s. So as well as being an exceptional stealth, very high optics unit, they have a pretty damn decent payload with them, like a really nice setup on those guns. So yeah, definitely a unit to consider in Phase A. Then there's the 231s available. The SBW 231 has a 20mm loaded up on it. Very, very fast recon vehicle, great for taking on enemy infantry. And then there's the Puma, the SBW 234-2. This has a 50mm gun that can fire up to 1,500 meters, and it has a lot of accuracy, 60% accuracy on its AP shell. So with a little bit of veterancy, these could be very good at side-shotting enemy medium armor, particularly things like Shermans, because they've got more than enough penetration to take them on, at least in the side armor. So yeah, these could be actually much more useful than they used to be. Because before they would just get popped at range because of the 40mm of frontal armor. It just wasn't really enough. But now that AT guns have a general shorter range, these can kind of play around that a bit more, which is very cool. And moving on, we have the infantry tab. So a couple of panzer guns here with the, well, with a bit of a budget loadout. These guys have MP28s for their submachine gun, and then MG26s for their rifle. But that rifle is pretty accurate, so I wouldn't overlook it. These are pretty good value for money at 20 points, for sure. There's a card of Pioneers. These have the standard loadout for a Pioneer squad, just SS uniforms, looking very snazzy. The Pioneer Führer, these guys are 4-man squads with a HE grenade. Pretty good choice, honestly. But I generally prefer the smoke grenade. I do kind of go between these. Like, some videos you'll hear me go, oh, I like the HE grenade more than the smoke grenade now. And sometimes I'm going, oh, I like the smoke grenade more than the HE grenade. The reason I do that is because just like preference, as I'm sort of like playing the game, it just switches backwards and forwards every now and then. The Pioneer Führer, like the HE grenade is nice, but you never want to have the leader in a position to have to use it. So that's kind of like the main reason that smoke's better, because you can kind of like smoke off your leader and run away. Generally though, if your leader's already under fire, it's probably going to die because people do hunt them down. The MG34 is available on the panzer guns as well, the MG34 variant. These guys have the ZK383 submachine gun. That's an interesting one. But yeah, MG34s there instead of like MG26s or MG42s. So an interesting loadout for those. There's some Sturm Pioneers, 6-man squads with a flamer, pretty standard stuff. Then we have the Panzergrenadier, the standard Panzergrenadiers with the MG42s, and Panzergrenadiers with Panzerfaust. I didn't really look very much at availability. It looks like things are pretty standard, with the whole 9 in Phase A, 18 in B, and 27 in C. I think that's the same for pretty much all the standard Panzerguns except from Panzerguns with Panzerfaust. The Sturm Pioneers, I noticed, can only come in Phase B, though. So that's going to make those probably an easy Phase B choice to accompany some Panzergrenadiers, because you do get quite a lot of infantry cards in this tab. Right, let's move on to the tank tab. So the tank tab is pretty lackluster overall, but you get Stugs and you get a couple Panthers. So it's not terrible, it's not the worst in the world. Like, there is definitely divisions with worse tank tabs, a lot worse tank tabs. But yeah, Stugs are okay, and they don't really lose much availability being 2 vet, so you can certainly make good use of that. There's also Stug 4s, again, they don't lose too much from being 2 vet, so you can certainly bump that up. Stugs have 1,750 meter range with the 7 round per minute rate of fire, which you can push up to 10 round per minute rate of fire with the 2-star veterancy, so that is definitely something to consider. Stug 3 G4, these can come in A and B, 1 in A, 2 in B. It looks like you can bring in Stug 3s in all phases, Stug 4s only in Phase A. Then we have Panther Ds, these can only come in Phase A and B, and they are automatically upgraded to 1-star veterancy. So that is going to help a little bit with accuracy and maximum range. But yeah, you're probably going to want to have these in A and B. Decent tank, does have the 2,000 meter range still, so it's going to be definitely dealing with medium tanks like T-34, T-34-76s, and also Shermans very easily. Support tab. Belgian Gendarmerie are our first stop. Can they come in with any interesting transports? No, unfortunately not. What about the Flammenwerfer, standard 2-man flamer squad? Nope, nothing special there. MG34s. These have the same range as the MG42s, and they can be pretty damn effective at range, but MG42 just has that little bit more damage, so you're probably going to be wanting to use them instead. 2 cards of each though, 2 cards of MG34s, 2 cards of MG42s, that's a lot of MGs. IGs are also available. They have 1,500 meter range on their HE shell, and their heat shell, I think, should be shorter than 1,500. So bear that in mind. And then we have the Opel Blitz. The Opel Blitz, you can get 3 of cards of these, which isn't too bad. The IG-33 is present in this division, which is definitely an interesting one. It has the 2,000 meter range on the HE, 750 meter range on the heat. So if you're going to want to use this against tanks, you're going to have to get close. But otherwise, at range, this can do a serious amount of damage. Definitely going to be a good choice for dealing with AT guns at range and other infantry, because these will be really hard to pin down at a distance. Tigers and, I guess IS-2s can hit pretty hard. They'll be like the 2,000 meter thing you've got to look out for with these. The HE will do quite a lot of damage at range, but there will be like other units that won't really be able to reach out to the same sort of range that this can hit at. So having these on your backline just pop in infantry would probably work pretty well these days. Then we have a few commander vehicles. We've got the motorcycle commander. There's the SBW 223 commander, which has an MG34 mounted turret, and a Befehl Panzer IV. So Panzer IV commander there. Has the same stats as the Panzer IV H. Finally, in the support tab, there is the Stuka zu Fuß. Stuka zu Fuß. This has napalm rockets. I'm really not sure how these work, but it looks like they do a lot of damage. And you can get 1 in A, 2 in B, or 3 in C. These are 155 points. And as well as having the big old 280mm rockets on the side, they can also actually make use of the main gun as well. So say if you run out of supply later in the game, you can move these forwards and use them as support for your infantry. And the accuracy on the main gun is actually not too bad. 1,500 meter range with 45% accuracy. 55mm of penetration is abysmal, but it's definitely something to consider when looking at like transport sniping and stuff like that. So yeah, that is quite an accurate gun for how stubby it is. The HE only has 20% accuracy, but of course has that extra damage. Right, moving on to the anti-tank tab. So here we've got 3 cards of Panzerschrecks, if you want to bring these in. There is going to be a card of captured 45mm Russian guns. These have the 1,250 meter range with 75mm of penetration on the AP shell. No APCR for these ones because they are the captured variant. There is the captured Su-76s. Again, lacking APCR, but decent accuracy for their range, like the 1,500 meter range. You got 45% accuracy. You force bring them in at 1-star bet, so that goes over 50% accuracy. Not too bad, not too bad. Then there's the FK-288, which is the captured ZIS-3s. These again lack their APCR, but do have their standard AP shell that they can fire at 1,500 meter range. These are definitely going to have to be used in an ambush position, but more than likely you're just going to bring these Pack 40s. You get 3 in A, 5 in B, 8 in C. You get your APCR, they're 190mm of penetration at 1,500 meter range, and then you got your 1,750 meter range AP shells as well. So there we go. Moving on to the anti-air tab, we have the Flak 38 20mm to start. This can be brought in with the good old STKZ-11 Flak. This is a lovely combination in the early game for just getting like double up on the 20mm early on. Actually gives your units some lethality. It's really nice. I mean, even if you just bring them in at like the 2-star veterancy, so that you can like pop a couple of these in at the start of the game, these can actually do some serious damage with some high veterancy. So definitely worth considering. Even if you do it like 1-star vet, so you can make them 3-star vet with a commander or something at the start, that might be quite nice. Then there's the Flak 36 37s. These are generally more reliable if you don't have access to 20mm with 20mm half tracks. And then there is the good old Flak 88. Now this thing's an absolute beast. It maintains its 2,000 meter range with 160mm of penetration and 40% accuracy and super high rate of fire. So going to be an absolute menace to medium tanks. And definitely going to be something that's hard to deal with. But IS-2s will be able to like deal with this at range. I think there'll also be like longer range infantry gun options that can probably take out an 88 for you. You're going to have mortars, that kind of stuff that can still deal with these. They're not very mobile, so you're probably going to be able to pick them off quite easily. But moving on, we have the STKZ-71. These can only come in phase A and B. So bear that in mind. You get 88s in all phases, 36s in all phases, and 38s in A and B. Moving on, we have the artillery tab. Beobachter are the first one. They have the option to be brought in with the 222 or the 250-10, which is quite nice. Not sure if it would make me bring in the Beobachter, but it depends really how much infantry command I can fit in with radios. Because generally you just bring Battleführer for leadership and radios. Beobachter can be kind of like recon and radios if you need them, but generally you don't, and it can be a waste of activation points. But we do have access to some 81mm mortars. I really like how they just change the uniforms on like all of these units to make them consistent. So yeah, 81mm mortars there, available in A, B, and C. You've got the LEFH 105s available. There's 2 cards of those. There's actually 5 cards of the 81mm mortars. That's nuts. the Vielfachwaffe. Very cool. Same one that you can get in the 21st Panzer. This is pretty good at suppressing an area over time. It can fire like 2 full volleys before it runs out of ammo, so it can be a decent option. It's nice as well for picking off like low health tanks. If you zoom in on a tank, you can see that it gets rusted and stuff when it takes more damage. And if you start targeting that with like a rocket vehicle, eventually one of those rockets will hit and kill the unit. So yeah, these can be really nice for like saturating an area or trying to like go for those little pickoffs. Then there's the SK-100, good counter battery option because of their small dispersion. 80 points as well. It makes them pretty cheap for the choice to do that. You can bring them in with multi-munitions. You can also bring in. You can't bring in the 105s with them. Yeah, so you'd have to use the multi-munitions on the 100s or probably the 150s. There is the 120mm mortars available, A, B, and C, and also the SFH 18150 that I just pointed out. Again, these can be brought in with the multi-munition truck, which is good because it has 10,000 supply that comes in with it. Okay, moving on, we have the air tab. This is the last tab of the Panzergrenadier Nordland. We have the GO-145B. What an exciting aircraft. A little biplane there. Does have the napalm bombs. The napalm bombs will unseat sort of different support weapons. So if you drop a couple of these napalm bombs on top of like an AT gun or something, probably won't kill it, but it will definitely force it to move. You can also do it to tanks as well. If there's like a tank in like a really annoying position, you can like drop a couple napalm like right. But honestly, you can kind of just drive to the left slightly or to the right slightly to avoid it. So it's not, these aren't the best napalm bombs, but yeah, they might have a use if you just want to have some recon as well. Me-109 G8s are available. These are very fast recon aircraft, 610 km/h speed, but have pretty much no armament, only 2 13mm machine guns, which really aren't that good. Ju-87 D5s are available. These are the ground attack variants with the 20mm gun pods. Very nice indeed. And then the Ju-87 D5 with the 500 kilogram bomb and the 450 kilogram bombs. This is actually a really nice payload. 85 points. Be pretty useful in the early game. Probably get shut down quite a lot in the late game because of like abundance of AA. We got the Focke-Wulf, the good old Focke-Wulf fighter. This is the A8 variant. 2 in A, 4 in B, and 8 in C. And finally, the one you've all been waiting for. Good old Panzergrenadier Nordland has the Arado jet bomber. Ain't this a bad boy? Absolutely awesome. Okay, so this thing has 560 km/h speed with a 1,000 kilogram bomb payload, which is pretty nuts. You consider that a Focke-Wulf 190, which is one of the faster fighter aircraft, has 600 km/h speed. 560 km/h speed is very, very fast. So you're going to be able to get this in and out, drop off its bomb very quickly indeed. Things like P-51s might catch up to it and shoot it down, because P-51s are very fast. But there's not really going to be much, especially in terms of like Yaks and so on, that can really catch up to this effectively. Maybe like a Yak 3. I think they can hit almost 600 km/h. But you're going to have to like intercept it like mid-air, otherwise it's just not really gonna work. If you see the bomber, it's probably already too late. You're gonna have to have the aircraft out beforehand if you're gonna want to try and catch these things. So 1 in A, 2 in B, 3 in C, and you also get a larger bomb variant. This one's actually a bit slower, 525 km/h speed. Still fast though, still very fast. Has the 1,000 kilogram bomb and 2 500 kilogram bombs as well. So yeah, even bigger payload. 1,000 kilogram bombs though, they're kind of an interesting topic in Steel Division 2, because whilst they are an absolutely huge bomb, they don't actually deal with armor very well. Generally armor gets picked off by being hit multiple times by HE rather than just being hit once by one big HE. And the reason for that is like tanks with armor take like 1 damage per HE hit that lands nearby, or like 1 or 2 or whatever. And so it's better to hit them with like multiple bombs at close range than it is to land 1 big bomb on them. So even if like a 1,000 kilogram bomb like direct hits a Tiger or Panther, it's probably not going to kill it. Whereas if you have like a couple of Focke-Wulf bombers with like 4 50 kilogram bombs diving and getting really accurate bombing strikes on them, that will more likely kill it. So bear that in mind. These are much more useful for killing off support weapons and also infantry. 1,000 kilogram bombs do a lot of damage to infantry, of course. So there's that at least. I think also you might be able to overwhelm enemy AA with these because they are so fast. So you might just be able to like go and bomb the enemy AA with them, which could be interesting as well. They are only medium resilience, which means if they're flying directly towards AA, they might still take a lot of damage. So be careful. Be careful with them. All right, finally, I said it was the last tab, but it's not because I was kind of keeping this a little secret. But in the defensive tab, it's probably one of the only divisions in this particular DLC that has something special here. We have the Panther Term, which is a dug-in panther. Really cool. You're not really going to see these used very much in multiplayer because they just you don't play Breakthrough very often. But in sort of single player, if you mess around in skirmish, playing against like AI on the defensive with the Panther Term could be really, really fun. So yeah, definitely check these out. They maintain the 2,000 meter range, so they're going to be super strong little bunkers for annihilating stuff at range. That's going to be very, very cool to see how these work. Obviously, you can just pin them down and then surrender them, probably, just like any other bunker. But yeah, a very cool option. You get 2 of them available, so you got 2 cards, and 1 on each card. I just thought this was a cool addition to the game. It's not something we don't play Breakthrough very often. Maybe I'll have to make an exception on the stream one time, but yeah, cool addition for sure. Right, let's go ahead and make ourselves a battle group. So we'll start off in the Recon tab. Recon tabs looks like it's dug in there for a second. That would have been cool. Let's go ahead and grab the Aufkläder. Or the Spätrupp. We'll bring in probably Aufkläder with the 222s in phase A. And I'm going to bring in some Pumas as well. Then we're going to bring in the Schwedenzug in phase A. And in phase B, I'm probably going to want more Aufkläder. Actually, let's go ahead and put the Aufkläder upvetted in the 222s in phase B. We'll use the Schwedenzug for our recon infantry in phase A, and then we'll accompany that with the vehicles, the 231 and the 2342 Puma. There we go. Okay, let's move on to the infantry tab. We have in here the MG26s. These could be pretty useful just as an expendable infantry unit. But you can get a lot of damage out of the MG34 and the MG42, so those are probably preferable. Definitely going to bring a card of the Sturm Pioneers in phase B, so we'll make sure to bring those in. In terms of leadership options, it's either Panzergrenadier or the Pioneer Führer. I think the Pioneer Führer might be better in phase A. Panzergrenadier. And let's go Panzergrenadier with the smoke in phase A. And then we'll grab the MG34 infantry for phase A with Opel Blitzers. And potentially some Pioneers as well. We'll upvet those and bring them in. Phase C, I'm probably going to do upvetted. Actually, we'll just do standard Panzer guns with Panzerfaust in phase C. always a nice option because you've got like decent ranged infantry with the capability to kill tanks, especially if things get a bit overwhelming in the late game. You can start to rely on that Panzerfaust maybe a little bit if you can get them into decent cover. We've got standard Panzergrenadiers as well. I think if I upvet these and bring them in Phase B, that could be a good shout. And then I'll bring in some upvetted MG26 in the early game. Let's not upvet those. Well, upvet the MG34 variant. We'll make sure to bring them in the Upper Blitz. So Upper Blitz is always a better choice. So the Phase A infantry is looking fine. Phase B is looking fine. I've got room for one more card in Phase C. I might just throw in some of these MG26 squads in Phase C. There's quite a lot of infantry, but we'll leave it at that for now. We're definitely going to want both of the Panther cards. And I'm probably going to bring in the Stug 4s upvetted. And maybe some of the Stug 3s upvetted as well in Phase B. Just so we have enough tanks. Actually, let's not upvet them twice. Let's just upvet them once. So I have availability moving into Phase C as well. Alright, support tab. We're definitely going to be using this thing. I've got to give it a go. We will bring it in Phase B. I'm going to use the 223 as my leader vehicle. Actually, probably best to just put the Panzer IV in. It's only 20 points more expensive. We're going to want some MG42s. Probably go for the 1-star veterancy there. Flammenwerfer, not really needed in this deck because the infantry availability is reasonable. I think the only other thing that I want to fit in the support tab is potentially supply. We're definitely going to want Phase B supply. I don't know if we're going to want Phase C supply. Probably are for the support for the artillery tab. Although the artillery tab is pretty expensive by the looks of things with the points. It goes up very fast. Okay, anti-tank. Probably want to bring in a card of Panzerfaust. Always very useful. Very good unit for stopping initial rushes. The Jagdpanzer Su-76 could be useful, but I think I'm just going to do cards of Pack 40s. We'll do Upper Blitz in Phase A and KFZs in Phase B for those. That's fine. I think this captured equipment is okay, but it's just not as good as Pack 40. I'm also tempted to bring in a second card of Panzerfaust here, but it's just not really enough cards. Alright, we definitely want to bring in our 88s. So I'm probably going to do SDKFZ 71s in B. We'll do 88 in C. And I'll do Black 38 20 mils in Phase A, upvetted slightly. And also some early 88s. There we go. It's quite a lot of units in the anti-air tab there, that's for sure. Alright, moving on to the artillery tab. So here, I'm thinking a card of SFH 18Ms in Phase C with the munition trucks is not a bad choice. We can probably do a Phase B Battleführer to give us more leaders. And then I'm tempted to use the Wildfachwerfer and the Mortars, but I'm not sure if we're going to have enough points to do both. Let's bring in some Mortars. Smoke's going to be super important. Wildfachwerfer will bring in B. Although with the rockets in the support tab, the Wildfachwerfer kind of seems a bit unnecessary. Anyway, moving into the air tab, we definitely want these bombers. So we'll go for the 2 in Phase C of the larger payload, and we'll do the 2 in Phase B for those. Then in Phase A, we'll have some Focke-Wulf 190s. Actually, let's just go for Focke-Wulfs in B, because although it's nice to have fighters from the start of the game, I think we have the AA to deal with enemy aircraft early on, so we can probably afford to bring in the Focke-Wulfs later on. That was pretty quick. In the defensive tab, gotta have the Panzerturm. Some trenches. We'll put in defenses just because there is a unique unit in here. We'll get some pack bunkers in there as well. There we go. Alright. The 11th SS-Freiwilligen Panzergrenadier Nordland. That is complete. A very, very interesting division. One of the more exciting divisions in the Burning Baltics DLC. Very much looking forward to playing around with those Arado bombers and really making the most out of them. There is the Stücke Fuss, which is going to be fun to mess around with as well. Generally, I think this is going to be a quite nice, well-balanced battle group. It has some strong early game armored car action with some decent tanks to back them up, like the Stug 4 with the high vet there, and also the Panther D. And then into the mid-game, you've got still strong infantry, and then it more sort of transitions into an artillery and support role. So it's very cool. I like it a lot. I think this will do well as balanced, so I'm not going to change that up. I have no idea what I'm going to call the division for my battle group list. I think I'm just going to call them the 11th Panzergrenadier rather than the 11th SS-Freiwilligen Panzergrenadier. Actually, let's just call them the 11th SS Panzergrenadier. There we go. That will make them stand out a little bit more. Okay, I think it's an awesome battle group. Let me know what you think in the comments, but that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.